The past slumbers right under our feet. Archaeologists are constantly digging up ancient artifacts that give us a fascinating insight into days long gone. Together with you, we would like to take a look at some sensational discoveries that let the life of our ancestors shine in a completely new light. Stay tuned for mystical texts, ancient mummies, and supposed alien skulls. Let's get started. If you like videos like this and want to see more of them, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Also, stick around until the end to learn about one of the most jaw-dropping discoveries in recent years. Mammoth tusk. What started out as a routine workday ended in a stunning find. In 2014, some construction workers in Seattle discovered a mammoth tusk that was thousands of years old. But that's not all. With the length of 2.6 meters, it is also the largest tusk ever discovered in the region. The prairie mammoth, which once owned the mighty outgrowth, could reach an impressive 4 meters tall and weigh 10 tons. Extinct around 10,000 years ago, these giants mainly fed on grasses. The tomb. The year is 1979 when some New York construction workers want to install a new water pipe. But instead, they made the most eerie discovery possible: almost 200 human skeletons that have been dormant in the ground the whole time. But what was the background to this gruesome crypt under the world-famous Washington Square Park? The explanation for this is quite simple. In the early 19th century, there was still a large cemetery in the area. Later, the burial place was built over with other buildings. Lloyd's Bank Coprolith. When an expert says of a find that is as valuable and irreplaceable as the crown jewels, what could the object be? A sparkling royal crown? Or unique grave good? Well, it's not quite like that. The truth is that the Lloyd's Bank Coprolith is nothing more and nothing less than fossilized human feces. Yes, you heard right. Discovered in 1972 in the English city of York, later analysis showed that the archaeological sensation traveled through the digestive tract of a 9th century human who ate mostly meat and bread. When the oldest known excrement fossil was shown to a group of visitors in 2003, it fell and broke into 3 pieces. Well, crap happens. Duds. Although it is now 77 years since the end of the Second World War, the traces of the bloody battles are still visible today. And in 2018, some Berlin construction workers had to experience firsthand that these can still be extremely dangerous. When the men were renovating an old building, they came across a World War II bomb in the foundation that had not exploded. It is very likely that the 450-kilogram explosive device was dropped on the German capital by the British in 1945. When the dud was defused, almost 12,000 residents of Berlin Mitte had to be evacuated. Schiffswrack. Normally, shipwrecks lie dormant at the bottom of the sea, but the same applies here. Exceptions proved the rule. A case that occurred in Alexandria, Virginia in 2015 proves this to us. Back then, construction workers came across the wreck of an old merchant ship that had been put to sea in the 18th century. However, the remains were not in the water, but under the old city of Alexandria. Soon after, experts found that the ship had been built in Massachusetts around the year 1740. After serving on the high seas, it would eventually be shipped to Virginia for a different purpose altogether. Like the 3 other colonial-era ships that would later be discovered there, this one was filled with earth and buried to give more space for new plots to be built. In fact, burying ships to create new expanses of land was not uncommon at the time. Grotesque skulls. When researchers in Mexico came across strangely shaped skulls, it seemed clear the bizarre elongated skulls could only be the remains of an extraterrestrial species. But we shouldn't be so hasty in view of the grotesque bone finds. In the ranks of the Latin American natives, it was customary to carry out so-called skull manipulations. In detail, the Inca, Maya, and Aztecs use special compression bandages and boards to press the heads into a desired shape. Perhaps the indigenous peoples wanted to express their tribal affiliation, their social rank, or simply correspond to a particular ideal of beauty. Severed head. In the early hours of May 16, 2016, police in Cambridgeshire, England, received a disturbing call. A man's severed head had been found in a quarry. However, there was no trace of the rest of the body. After analyzing the creepy find, the experts came to the conclusion that the man was between 30 and 50 years old at the time of his death. However, when the unknown died is still a big mystery. He may have died in the 1960s, or maybe just 10 years ago. A possible explanation is that the man was hit by a train, after which his severed head got stuck in a bridge construction. During cleaning work, the head could then have ended up unnoticed in a garbage container before it was finally dumped in the quarry. Unfortunately, a check against the missing persons database did not reveal any DNA matches. The identity of the dead is still unclear. Voynich manuscript. One of the more interesting artifacts from history that have been explored recently is the Voynich manuscript. This manuscript is believed to date back to the 15th century. The interesting thing about this book that sets it apart from others is that it is written in a text that has never been deciphered. In fact, we don't even know for sure that the text is written in a true language or font. It's estimated that the book was created sometime between 1404 and 1436 in Italy. The book got its name from the bookseller, Wilfrid Voynich, who purchased the book back in 1912. The crazy thing about this book is that it shows the detailed structures of plants as well as other elements in nature, and even shows a somewhat accurate description of human anatomy. From what we have gathered from the script, the book claims that all human beings are formed and animated by unseen energy that flows all throughout nature. The words truth and lie have also been found all throughout the book, seeming to show the origins of human mortality. There are leaves all throughout the book as well, and when folded in a particular way, they reveal the Fibonacci sequence, a famous set of numbers that has become known as the creation code. This code can be found all throughout the universe. The giant moth. Who doesn't know it? In summer, you forget to close the window in the evening, and our living room becomes the scene of a boisterous moth party. If normal-sized insects are already giving you a hard time, be fortunate that the specimen spotted in Brisbane hasn't flown into your apartment yet. In fact, some workers here encountered the largest moth in the world. With a wingspan of 25 centimeters, this representative weighed an impressive 30 grams. Discovered during the construction of new classrooms, the visitors of the Australian school have long since become accustomed to such animal guests. Koalas, kangaroos, turtles, and snakes have already stopped by here. Chinese mummy. It rested in the ground for 7 centuries before being rediscovered by construction workers in 2011. The amazingly well-preserved Chinese mummy. Given the condition of her skin, hair, and even eyelashes, one might think the woman passed away recently. However, the experts are sure that we are dealing here with a high-ranking member of society from the Ming Dynasty, which ruled over the empire from 1386 to 1644. Renaissance painting. Sometimes simple maintenance work leads to sensational art discoveries. Workers in Florence came across 2 ancient Renaissance paintings that had been hidden behind a wall plaster for almost 400 years. The artworks of the likenesses of 2 powerful Grand Dukes show us in detail Ferdinando de' Medici and his son Cosmo II. Hospital ruins. You just want to make room to build a new Apple store, and you're digging up the ruins of a 15th century hospital. What can therefore be said as a joke became reality in Madrid 2013. The building was once used to treat plague patients before it was demolished in 1854 and disappeared under the cobblestones of a public square. Arsenal of weapons. Detectorists set off with their metal detectors to track down valuable treasures. However, some recreational archaeologists would be unearthing far less sparkling treasures, such as buried World War II dugouts still brimming with shells, machine guns, and ammunition. The forgotten war scrap still poses a great danger. According to estimates, thousands of duds are still hidden in the ground in this country. In 2018 alone, 2,811 World War II bombs were defused. And mind you, that number only includes Germany. During World War II, around 2 million tons of bombs were dropped on Germany and the occupied territories. HESLINGTON brain. What thoughts might have been twitching through the brain that was discovered in 2008 in a pit in HESLINGTON, England? At around 2,600 years old, the HESLINGTON brain is the oldest surviving brain found in Eurasia. In addition, we are probably dealing with the best preserved thinking apparatus of antiquity. Research showed that the brain belonged to the skull of a man who was hanged and beheaded in his 30s. It may have been a human sacrifice or a ritual murder, although after all this time, the brain had shrunk to 20% of its original size. It still presented itself in excellent condition. Dear Santa, can you please send me a Rupert Animal comic, a drum, a box of chalk, soldiers and Indians, slippers, a tie, pens, and any little toys you have left over? This letter to Santa Claus from 1943 shows us how modest children used to be. After the wish list was discovered in an old chimney during construction work, the finders decided to search for its author, and indeed they managed to track down little David, even though he was, of course, an older gentleman by now. Even more heartwarming, the men gave David everything he had asked for in his letter. SAJAMA lines. This is one of the biggest mysteries we have ever uncovered, because we still don't know the story behind it. Known as the SAJAMA lines, these lines are actually long stretches of road that have been carved out of the undergrowth. Thousands of years ago, humans had incredible mapping abilities that we are still yet to understand. We were able to create amazing accurate maps and make our way across landscapes in ways that we couldn't even imagine to this day. The skills that were required for this remain unknown, but it seems like ancient humans may have had access to a long-forgotten knowledge that may have helped them on their journey. The SAJAMA lines are no exception. These lines are a network of thousands upon thousands of paths that extend over a straight stretch of land and do not turn, bend, or waver in any way. In total, the lines cover an area of about 22,000 square kilometers. Our research seems to claim that the lines may have been used to help indigenous people navigate the difficult terrain at least 3,000 years ago. But we really don't know for sure. To put this into perspective, imagine you took a stick and drew a line in the sand for about 10 or 20 feet. While the line may seem straight as you're carving it, when you stand back, you'll always realize that the line bends a little bit. It takes a lot of math, calculation, and preparation to create a line that is truly straight. But get this, the SAJAMA lines are not carved into the sand. They were carved into patches of trees, grass, brush, and undergrowth over hundreds of years. Yet they are somehow 100% straight and do not bend even a little bit. This would be nearly impossible for humans to do today. So how did they do it all those years ago? We have no idea. This gigantic system of lines is so huge that you can't see them all from the ground. The only way to understand how large the lined area would be is to take a helicopter or a plane and look at it from above. That makes it even crazier, because humans obviously would not have had these technologies all those years ago, or did they? Either way, we have no idea what these lines would have been used for, but it would make sense that they could have been used to make navigation a bit easier. The other option is that they were used for rituals or religious ceremonies, but this is just a guess. Ultimately, we have no idea. What's even more interesting is that if you took all the lines and put them together, end to end, they would reach over 16,000 kilometers. That's insane. We may never know the meaning behind these lines, but their impact will live on for many years to come as we continue to investigate them in the coming decades. Which discovery surprised you the most? Feel free to tell us in the comments below. Don't forget to leave us a like and a subscription to stay up to date from now on. And with that, Thanks for watching, have a good one, and see you next time.